Okay, now let's move on to another topic which was discussed many times earlier today, the creator economy. What's happening in the world of the new wave of digital media? Let me invite Adrian Hall to please come up on stage. Adrian Hall is the COO of Extensia. You heard him in a fireside yesterday and a panel moderator session today. He's joining us again on this very engaging panel on the creator economy. Let me also invite Daniel Getachew, founder and CEO of Guzo Technologies, to please come up on stage. Joining him will be Mahathir Getaneh, architect and extra developer at Bema Technologies. And finally, Oliad Tesfaye, CEO of Tobiya Game Studio. So these are all very alien terms, even just 5, 10 years ago, but we're going to hear all about them right now. So, ladies and gentlemen, a big round of applause for Adrian, Daniel, Mahathir, and Oliad. Please come up on stage. Wow. Thanks, everyone. Adrian, you have a full half an hour, so go ahead. Thanks. Round of applause, please, for the panel on the creator economy. Thanks, Adrian.
Thank you, Madam. Good afternoon, everybody, again, and welcome to the panel here on the creator economy, something that I think is a very interesting subject area, one we haven't really covered previously on our summits on previous years. So I'm excited, and actually I like the flow from the previous conversations with Frida, kind of flow into what we're going to be talking about here, I think, anyway. I think it's fair to say that the majority of the audience won't be familiar with your organizations, as indeed neither am I. So I'd like to introduce each of you to, firstly, introduce yourselves and your organization, what you do in relation to the creator economy, and just a brief insight into that from your side, and then we'll dive into the subject there, if that's okay. So, please, if we start with Oliad, that's okay.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Oliar Tasfay, and I'm a founder and CEO of Tobiya Game Studio. We focused in developing an immersive gaming experiences, augmented reality, virtual reality, as well as immersive experiences. So, thank you.
Okay, good afternoon, everyone. Thank you for having us on this big stage. My name is Mahadar Mulso. I'm a CEO and founder of Bema Technologies. Under Bema, there are many products that we are planning to do, but so far we have been producing a product called Coexist Plus that promotes and create awareness about culture and peace building. It's a kind of a game development, but it's an educational tool for making awareness about cultural differences in Ethiopia, since there are 80 plus ethnic groups that are under tension because of many stereotypes and misunderstanding. So we are coming up to solve this problem as a big problem that Ethiopia is facing now. We are creating a game platform for use to understand every ethnic groups to avoid stereotypes. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Daniel, please.
Thank you. My name is Daniel Getachew, and I'm the founder and CEO of Guzo Technologies. So Guzo Tech is a company based here in Addis, and we've been into this immersive technologies for the past 6 years almost. And our focus areas covers from tourism to education, and also sport and fashion these days. So it's not sector specific solutions that we provide, but we apply the power of XR, AI, and IoT in our most of products and solutions. And we work with local and also international companies. Within the past 6 years, we tried our best to preserve tourist attraction sites, statues, ancient cultural celebrations, and we try our best to put all of this amazing African valuable assets to the world and to be able to be promoted with technology. So that's what we've been working on. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thank you, Daniel. These are very exciting areas that you're all working in. As the creator economy, it's kind of, I mean, it's not new, but it's evolving clearly with different technologies, AI, and as you said, um, different technologies enable different experiences, of course. So the more immersive experiences, I guess, are now becoming more prevalent because the technologies are there that would support them. What do you see as the next evolution? Are we ready for a next evolution? Or are we in a position where we're going to consolidate with the technologies that we currently have? Or is there something new coming that you can see further down the line? Or just maybe a little bit of an insight, a future perspective from each of you, if you don't mind.
Okay.
Please, Ollie.
Okay. So the future potential for the gaming industry for Africa is very big. It is untouched. So we are creating opportunities for game industries to leverage uh, the skills to grow the economies. So far, the true potential for the African gaming industry is ability to entertain, educate, and empower. So far, the African cultural perspective, uh, and there is local stories that that never have been touched. So Africa have a rich potential for gaming industry and a rich creative young people. So far, it is a biggest industry so far. So we have to, it have a big potential to grow as a sector. Okay, thank you.
Great. Okay. So, Mahda, if you could also add to the same conversation, then I've got some other questions I'd like to follow that with.
Immersive technology is an emerging technology these days. It has a power to influence and have a behavioral change towards anyone that is using it frequently. So we can use it like for every sectors that we are. For example, for education in manpower, working manpower forces, and to train different medical and health stuff, and also to train many mental problems. For example, it can solve, or not 100% solve, but it has a good implication towards autism. And also we can work on the tourism also, and we can work on the heritage. There are many sectors that immersive technology can engage. And also for education, for example, it's on the STEM. It can replace the laboratories that can cost us like many amount of budgets. So it can replace this the lab equipments and hands-on experiences and so on. So it has many uses for the future. Yeah.
Fantastic. Thanks, Mahda. Daniel, what's the roadmap? What's the future? What's coming? And where in the context of your business? Where are you taking it?
It's very scary. I guess I can say why we ask these questions about immersive take? Is it some kind of luxurious concept, especially if you're a company based in Africa and if your focus area is about AI or if it's about XR? Most people and sometimes the government consider, okay, you guys have time and you're working on, a very fancy area, but this is now maybe 5, 6 times the power of owning a nuclear weapon. So these days, most of our contents, most of our data will have access to be manipulated by foreign entities, or even new products will also be controlled by something else, that a system that we don't even understand. So before we jump into immersive tech itself is also a very critical thing for us. And I'm not a big fan of reinventing the wheel kind of concept, but if we own a system, if we own a model of our own, that's how we sustain our sovereignty or market share within the space. So, Guzo take our mission, maybe our vision is to innovate better. And we have several technology solutions that we can apply different sectors. We chose tourism because when we established the company, there was COVID, and the tourism sector was, having a lot of challenge. And we've seen VR was like helping out the rest of the world through virtual tourism, through virtual experiential kind of technologies. So why not we build it ourselves? So why not we come up with our own concept, our own technologies that we can provide to the community and maybe promote our country? So that was the starting idea. Apart from this, terrorist attacks on heritage sites was also a big issue. I don't have the money to buy all heritage sites in Ethiopia alone, not even in Ethiopia, in Addis alone. So they are expensive. It's not possible by a private sector. So the only possible solution that we propose is to have a technology of our own and to use it for our own problems and to be able to generate revenue. But why VR in general? VR is not some kind of an optional thing in the coming few years. If you uh, take most of the news from those tech giant companies, all of them, they have VR headsets or research under extended reality or immersive technologies, because what we've been experiencing the digital space was through the 2D interface or the 2D screen. The future of experiencing data, experiencing anything, we will say, I have experienced this website or this product, rather than saying we crawled the internet or Google to check some results. So the world is changing, and the future is immersive technologies and a very lightweight kind of accessible wearable devices. Okay, it's a choice for Africans to buy those equipments or to invest on talents and companies who understand the technology space and come up with their own ideas, their own contents, because the future applications are not the same like we used to know in Play Store and App Store. The future of applications will also be immersive, and they are spatial. We will be connected more. It's a shareable kind of content that we have. So it's an indicator for us. We're in a good track, and it's good timing for us to start the technology. So now AI is also trending because that will be the backbone of most of the infrastructures. There is a lot of data need to be processed and need to be accessed humanly. It's not possible. So with the help of AI, imagine we can regenerate our ancient ancestors back to life, like experience again with VR. So that's the power of AI, especially in XR. And maybe one use case is a customized teacher for our future maybe kids, so they will have access to ask any questions they want and learn from an AI backed system. So imagine AI is the brain, but the look and the interface will be that immersive experience. We call it extended reality because it covers AR, VR, and all of that.
Wow, this is a fascinating area, I have to say. And if the three of you are anything to go by, imagination isn't holding back the progress. But what is, Olia? What's stopping you from moving forward? What's stopping you from growing, evolving, developing? What's your challenges? Can you hear me?
So far, for the gaming industry, it is quite new for not just for Ethiopia, but the whole Africa. It is quite hard because there is a lack in monetization, and there is a critical issue that come with gaming. Like gaming is just a game, but game is more than game. There is different aspect of game, like education sector, uh, health sector, even it goes to agriculture. But no one have an idea game can be actually embedded to those sectors. So far with that challenges, uh, it is quite hard to engage to make this sector into growing economy. But so far, other countries have monetized the gaming industry pretty much. So far, the lack of investment in talents and lack of digital infrastructures. That is why that's what got us pretty much behind.
Great, thank you. Mahter, what's holding you up? Why aren't you in, why isn't Silicon Valley a thing of the past? They're getting old now. Please.
Okay. Um, there are many challenges that we are facing in this immersive technology sector. One of it I stress is a skill gap. There are almost few numbers of experts regarding immersive technology and extended reality, virtual reality. This expertise, I mean, universities and Ministry of Education and other private educational centers and social impact initiatives should think about incubating this skill manpower regarding XR and immersive technologies. And aside from that, there is a high development costs that it require for XR production. It will lead to the initial investments should be higher than any other sector. It would cost us, like, for example, for the softwares and for the hardware and many things that we are using to develop one product. It has many starting point of the investment should be higher than any other startup companies. This is one of the challenges that we are facing. And as I think he mentioned about the infrastructure and also the users' willingness to pay for the XR contents, especially in Africa. It's not quite used for paying XR contents for those products, and also sponsorship and grants dependencies, um, because since there is no direct revenue from the contents directly, as I said before, um, we are dependent on the sponsorship and partnership and also grants funding and stuff. So these are the main challenges that we are facing, I think.
Okay, thank you, Mahler. Daniel, I'm going to ask you it slightly differently. So, what about partnerships and collaborations with universities, with government agencies, with tourist tour companies or things like this, with private sector companies that relate but are not you, that you can support? Is that a way forward? And also things like outstaffing. You might not have people here, but What about using those from outside to build the business, create the momentum, and then in the same time get the universities? Anybody, any takers in here from the universities that would like to explore how you can put together the frameworks that will bring that generation of developers together? Maybe, don't know, but maybe Daniel, there's some ideas.
I agree with like the challenges mentioned by Mahader and also Oliad. Maybe to add a couple of things you mentioned. Yeah, there are ways to work with the government. We had some projects with the government, with private sector, but like Mahader mentioned, most of us, it looks like we depend a lot on development partners, because they are the one with the money, and then they will more likely be interested to invest in ideas like immersive take, XR, VR. So there are even other priority areas by the government. So if we are engaged in climate, agriculture, or any of those, priorities, that will be, I think, where the attention goes, where the money flows. But how about the future of us? How about the future for this country in immersive take, in AI? Because we have institutions owned by the government, how we are working. Still, that needs some discussion and also maybe to frame it under some policies. Those are like the gray areas. And we have to work a lot with the skill gap. Yes, we agree because we have a lot of access, a lack of access to different materials and also infrastructure, especially let's say if we need to import a VR headset, it's not something you can easily get it in at this market. So in terms of taxing and all of that, it needs to be assessed properly so that that creator economy will evolve. What others are doing, yes, they have access with forex exchange to own maybe foreign banks or access to pay for bills or subscriptions. That's not easy for a tech company based in Addis. So there are some areas that needs the attention of the government and also some funding companies or development partners. But what I believe is, I was checking my phone if the program is still active, but Dubai, they announced the Dubai program for gaming. So I just want to relate that idea with Ethiopian. We are a population of 100 million versus, United Arab Emirates. They are investing on the future of gaming by announcing a program. It's called Dubai for Gaming. You can check it on your website. They are giving 10 years golden visa for professionals who are in this field, especially for three of us, most likely. And so now there is a market comparison that we have to do. Okay, we will be interested to move there. And there are 4, 5, 6 different incubators with a free trade zone, and I will get paid. And then we will hire remote team in Ethiopia. That will also work because it will flow some foreign currency to the country. But why not we own it? So we stay here because we choose to be here and we want to just prove something. But still, most of us will have a choice to work with different companies and also different incubators, investors. They are interested. The only reason why they are not here is because it's not easy to take forex out of, their profit out of Ethiopia. So, but there are talents. I have more than 25 professionals in the XR industry for Ethiopia. But serving their needs is very challenging. So for me, I have to choose other alternatives just to make the company survive, just to make the company owns more portfolios, African portfolios. But most of the talents in Africa, in Kenya, in Nigeria, South Africa, they work in Rwanda, they work with a lot of international companies. We still have access, but it might require us, to change our company or our basis or maybe partners. Still, it's a challenge, but we're trying.
Very good answer. Madam, can we have a couple of questions?
Yes, absolutely. I think these are fantastic insights coming from this panel. I salute your courage, your capacity, and your confidence. I mean, you all are so confident in spite of the challenges that you face and still building companies. A big round of applause for these young innovators. Thank you, so much. You can take one or two quick questions. Anyone have a question for them? Anyone want to invest in them, work for them? Now is a good time to put up your hands. Otherwise, maybe we can move on to your last question or summarize some of your takeaways from this session.
So my takeaways are that we have in Ethiopia some amazing people with amazing passion and amazing imagination. They need support. Otherwise, like you say, you have to go somewhere else to do your thing. And we don't want that. We want to develop this in Ethiopia. We want the support of the universities. Let's explore how this can go forwards. And, I think collaboration and engagement and communication, even with the telecom operators, they want to monetize their networks. What you do monetizes their networks because people using your solutions, your products are using bandwidth, and that justifies the investment in the infrastructure for the telecom operators. So I think thinking outside of the box, looking at partnerships, looking at collaborations with the ministry and with others, I think you don't need to go to Dubai. keep it local and grow it locally. And Madan, I don't know. I mean, this is your area as well.
Absolutely. Yes, yes. We talk later as well. But first, Adrian, Daniel, Mather, and Olia, thanks so much for a fantastic panel. Will you all please come to the front? Call a big round of applause from our audience. This is changing face of Africa. You can see it right here. Young talent groomed in XR, in AI, in IoT, designing the future of games, future of content, and not just for the future, to preserve the culture of Africa, to give new experiences of African heritage and culture. Absolutely brilliant. Thank you. Thank you all so much. Thanks. One more, Adrian, come back. The heavy guns are here. Thanks, everyone. Hats off for a fantastic session. Let's move on now to the last panel discussion of the day on a very important topic which ties together many of the requests made by these panelists or the earlier ones, which is on national ICT strategies and regional collaboration. Let me invite now to come on stage Melad Gebrehu, Digital Financial Literacy Coordinator at the United Nations Capital Development Fund, to please come up. Melad is going to be anchoring this panel, which will have Dr. Girom Ketema, who is the Director for Digital Architecture and Finance at the Ethiopian Agricultural Transformation Institute. So, Dr. Girom, will you also please come up on stage? And joining them will be Tilok Dabi Singh, who is the ICT Director at the ICT Authority of Mauritius. So, Tilok, will you also please come up? And let me invite Dr. Girom also. So, this is our last panel, ladies and gentlemen. Please do ask them some difficult questions since you've all stayed here to the very end of day 2. But till then, for the next half hour, I'm going to invite Melat to take us through what are some trends in national ICT strategies, what are the panelists doing in this space, and how can we all work together to promote the digital agenda of Africa. Over to you. Big round of applause, please, for the last panel of the day. Thank you.
Thank you so much. So the day is going to be finally over, and we have the very difficult task of tying everything together with strategies. Strategies are very important, right? So just maybe to give you a brief background, Ethiopia has several strategies to make ICT at the core of its development. The Ministry of Innovation and Technology is, spearheading many of the innovation strategies, the ICT strategies and projects in Ethiopia. And UNCDF is also working with the Ministry of Innovation and Technology on, building on the strategy, which basically is focused on digital financial literacy as well. We have the Digital Transformation 2025. We have sector-specific strategies that we would like to talk about today as well. And I'm very happy today here to be with Dr. Groom and my colleague from Mauritius, because, Mauritius is a very advanced country in Africa when it comes to ICT and strategies. And Ethiopia falls right behind. We are a little bit behind on most of the things that we do, especially in rural areas, which Dr. Groom will cover for us because he is focused on agriculture. So I would go specifically into the questions, and I would like to ask Mr. Trilok. I hope I'm saying your name correctly, and correct me if I'm wrong. So Mr. Trulog is the director of IT and in the ICT Authority of Mauritius. And I would like to ask you, what are the key best practices you have seen with respect to national ICT strategy formulation, and what experiences will you share to countries like Ethiopia and countries into the region with the respect to regional integrations as well?
Okay, thank you. That's a long question, but I'll try my best. So, in Mauritius, we have been crafting national ICT strategies for a long time, meaning that each time there's a new government, there's a new ICT strategy, right? Which covers. So, my classical response to you would be yes, we need to have a vision, we need to have sectoral inputs, need to have collaboration, we need to have action plan with short term, long term, and medium term with well-defined parameters. But then in this age of digital transformation, my personal take is that this kind of concept is a bit outdated in the sense that today we cannot view ICT as a sector in itself. ICT is part and parcel of the digital economy. Rather than talking of a national ICT strategy, it would be much better to talk about a national digital transformation strategy, whereby we include all the different ministries to come up with their problem. Let me give you one example in Mauritius. We have been trying to implement blockchain-related projects, right? When we talk about blockchain, blockchain has been around since 2009. Everybody knows about the Bitcoin, the crypto world. But then in 2015, there was a new paradigm in blockchain whereby blockchain could be used for other use cases other than cryptocurrencies. But trying to implement that in reality in the context of different countries, we can count on our fingers how many countries have effectively adopted blockchain. It's a buzzword, but it has remained at the level of buzzword. Why? Because they didn't get the ownership of who will benefit the most in blockchain. Let me give you one example. When we talk of electronic transaction, digitalization and everything, when we talk of a digital market, for online transactions, securing online transactions, we can use what we call digital signatures. The public key infrastructure would give evidence that this transaction is authentic, right? But when we talk about international digital trade, the PKI, the digital signature, falls short because of jurisdiction issue. Whatever I'm going to say is valid as a legal transaction, a legal electronic transaction in Mauritius will not automatically be legal in another country. This is where blockchain comes in, right? What I mean by that, if you don't empower, like for in this particular case, the Ministry of Commerce, the Ministry of E-commerce, that this will benefit your use case, blockchain will remain a buzzword. So this is an example. I believe that we should rather talk of national digital transformation agenda. In fact, at the level of ITU is the International Telecommunication Union. This is what they are advocating right now. There's a benchmarking to see what progress countries are made, not in terms of the national digital ICT strategy, but in terms of the digital transformation strategy. So rather than coming up with ICT strategy, digital transformation strategies, sectoral strategy, I think it would be much better to have a holistic approach whereby we focus on one direction in terms of digital transformation.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So you've mentioned a very interesting point, right? ICT is not a sector by itself. It enables different sectors, such as agriculture, which brings me to my next question. So I would like to, give the chance to Dr. Gum to explain some of the challenges in developing and implementing ICT strategies, specifically in the ag sector in Ethiopia. Recently, the Ethiopian Agricultural Transformation Institute launched a digital agriculture roadmap, which is basically a strategy to, implement some digital initiatives in the ag sector in Ethiopia, which is the most difficult to do, in my opinion. And in my experience as well. So I would like to speak. I would like Dr. Brum, if you could give us some of the things that are considered challenges and some of the, maybe solutions that you attempted to implement in Ethiopia?
Okay, thank you. I think one of the major challenges we have is infrastructure. So most of the digital solutions that we attempt to implement require connectivity. They require devices and uh, access to uh, these tools. In addition, digital literacy. And when we look at the users of the digital solutions, what we will see is all these things are even much lower uh, in the farmers in the rural areas, and that is one of the challenges that we are facing. The other one, as our colleagues from the creator economy were mentioning, monetizing the digital solutions are also a bit challenging because most of our farmers are low income. They have very low income and they could not pay for the digital services, or they could not pay enough uh, to 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 have enough money for the creators of those applications. So this is the other challenge. So far, what we have tried to implement are around advisory services. There are digital advisory services where we try to provide relevant information to the farmers, timely early warning systems when there is locust infestation and things like that. We try to send out voice messages, SMS messages to our farmers. There are different solutions that we provide in market access. For example, market information is being provided for the farmers. So since these are advisory services and we don't expect the farmers to pay for it, so still they are the cost is being absorbed by ATI and the Ministry of Agriculture. But these things would be more sustainable if the private sector could go into it. But as I mentioned, the infrastructure and the paying or the monetization capacity is low. So these are some of the things that are around.
Thank you. I'm sure these are not all the challenges that we face. I think it will take us the whole day to go through them. But these are, I believe, are one of the few of the most important ones. So thank you for that. So Trilok, I would like to maybe hear from you with regards to some regional integrations when it comes to, ICT strategies. A wide range of connectivity options are emerging, and how can interconnectivity be improved in Africa, and what are some good examples of cooperative agreements here? Maybe you can talk about some of if you have some of the initiatives that you have across country that you may be sharing. For example, the COMESA has some ICT strategies that it's implementing, which both Mauritius and Ethiopia are a member of. So it would be good if we can hear from you on regional integrations and how can those can be improved.
Thank you. So in terms of regional strategy, the reason why I was mentioning previously about the digital transformation strategy is to be aligned with international best practices. This has the additional advantage of being harmonized with what is being doing, what is being done elsewhere. So when you come up with a strategy which is aligned with international best practices, to get regional cooperation on these kind of strategies is much easier, right? So we need to adopt this kind of approach, whether it is at the level of the country or on a regional or international basis itself. Now, coming to the issue of interconnection, so I give you an answer which is regulatory bias because I'm from a regulator. So if any country is a signatory party to the World Trade Organization agreement, they have to make sure that interconnection to the telecom infrastructure is available. So once this is done, you need to ensure that in your domestic law, interconnection becomes mandatory. And the role of the regulator to ensure that it works is to come up with some kind of cost-based kind of structure for interconnection to be cost-effective and affordable for the end users.
Awesome, thank you. We also have, in East Africa, like cross-border agreements when it comes to connectivity, when it comes to at least power sharing, which I believe are creating much impact than they are given credit for. So, right, the regional integrations and ICT strategies that goes beyond the borders of the countries is very important. Dr. Groom, even if the Ethiopian Agricultural Transformation Institute or the Ministry of Agriculture designs its own strategies, and everybody has good strategies of their own, implementation, as you mentioned, has its own challenges, and it's not easy. And if it's not implemented in an interconnected manner, not just ATI or Ministry of Agriculture working on its own, but at least working with other institutions like the Ministry of Health, the Ministry of Water, Irrigation and Energy, the National ID program, uh, can be found very important when it comes to success in implementing digital strategies. And maybe if you would like to speak on some of the initiatives that the ATI has with the Ministry of Agriculture and across the sectors that are creating impact in the ag sector, that would be great.
Okay. So, one of the mandate areas of the Agricultural Transformation Institute is partnership and linkage. That means, as agriculture is interconnected with different ministries and sector organizations, we try to work with these relevant organizations when we implement our solutions. One example could be the National Market Information System, where the Ministry of Agriculture and the Ministry of Trade and Regional Integration, they work together, because the National Market Information System is providing market data every week from 311 waradas in Ethiopia, and there are more than 300,000 data elements that are collected and are being distributed. So the data collection is done by the Ministry of Trade and uh, regional integration and the regional bureaus, and the data management and the remaining things are done by the Ministry of Agriculture and ATI. So this is one example of collaboration. There is another instance that we are working on digital market linkage, where the Ethiopian Cooperative Commission, Ministry of Trade, and Ministry of Agriculture are working on, again, agricultural commodities. As you know, the production of the agricultural commodities is under the Ministry of Agriculture, but the trading part, the selling part is under the Ministry of Trade. And sometimes the cooperatives and unions are involved in this transaction process. So these three partnering universities, I was in universities most of the time, so sometimes I say universities. Anyway, these different organizations, they work together. We have another instance where we collect farmers' data, and we do that in collaboration with the national ID system. So uh, every activity that we try to do, we collaborate with the relevant organizations and institutions.
That's awesome. And thank you for that. So, Tulok, I would like you to give us maybe share some of the things that you think are important when it comes to having the right kind of ICT strategy. You have touched upon it a little bit earlier. In Ethiopia, we have several strategies focusing on the same thing, but again, saying a little bit of different things, and that's I think looks like a red flag in my opinion when it comes to implementation, because if one strategy is saying something and if another is saying a different thing, then that's difference of opinion in strategies could be could impact the implementation of any of them. So maybe if you can share a valuable maybe example of your country's strategy and how you actually design strategies in order to have the impact that you have today, that would be very helpful for us.
Yes, in fact, in Mauritius, what we have seen, when you talk of these kind of strategies, the issue is in the implementation, as you rightly mentioned. What does that imply? Okay. That the institutional framework should be, the right institutional framework should be put in place. The fundamental problem is that when you come up with kind of ICT strategy, institutions tend to operate in silos, right? The lack of this collaborative framework in practice. On paper, yes, everybody collaborates, yes, with these ministries. But then when we have to implement a project, who will become the project ownership? Who will own the project? This becomes an issue which is ego-based. This is the reality. So to solve this problem, I believe that we need to come up with framework where there is much more interaction. Right now in Mauritius, it has been a new government. Of course, there's a new strategy coming in, but the appellation has changed for PLC. It's a blueprint. But in this blueprint, the innovative aspect of it is that they are running interaction with all the ministries on a very regular basis. And this makes all the difference. So rather than coming with strategy, what they are coming now in terms of the blueprint is concrete projects owned by the different stakeholders. If you have a project for commerce, the Ministry of Commerce takes ownership for digitalization of this project with the help of the ministry. So this is how it needs to work in terms of a decentralized approach, whereby everybody is a part and parcel of this process.
That's very insightful. Dr. Groom, you're not just an expert in digital agriculture, but you have also been working with different organizations such as Safaricom, the Ministry of Innovation itself, at least that I know of, and maybe many others such as universities. So I would like you to speak from your rich experience and provide feedback maybe on the trends you see throughout the years on involvement of private sector in Ethiopia, because Ethiopia has been for several decades, at least before the 30 years or 30 something years that we are in now, have been a socialist country. And the impact of that socialism and the thinking of that and the mindset has impacted the involvement of the private sector generally, not just in ICT, but in every sector. So the government is the biggest investor in Ethiopia. And that could be a good thing, but at the same time, it could be detrimental, especially when you try to increase the participation of the private sector in anything. And if you don't involve the private sector, if you don't involve, companies like the ones that we had on this stage, then there wouldn't be, especially when it comes to ICT and innovation, it would not be possible to just achieve that with government investment. So maybe from your rich experience and from your experience living in this country and working in the ICT sector, how do you see the private sector being involved, and how do you see the strategy supporting that going forward?
Okay. So I think this is something that is being discussed for several years already. Uh, yeah, for sustainability, it is better to. It's always a good thing to involve the private sector. I think the situation in Ethiopia is answer the question how. So sometimes the private sectors themselves they try to depend on a continuous fund flow from the government or from development partners to do something. On the other hand, the government has a very strict rule and regulations of involving the private sector. So what I would suggest is, and what is actually approved recently, is going into a PPP model, and that would work, in my opinion, because the private sector is working to be profitable, and there will be a very good business case for the private sector to run with the projects that are being implemented. At the same time, it will offload the small details of managing such projects from the government's shoulder, and they can focus on the regulatory aspect of their job. And I believe the government should be more focused on those things. So a PPP model is the best way forward because the private sector will contribute their share and will also get what they have invested in. So I think it will be win-win for everybody.
Awesome. So I am finished with my questions, but we have a good 8 minutes left. And if we can,
2 minutes.
2 minutes,
Okay.
okay. Maybe we can take one question.
We can take just one question. Any questions, comments from the audience? This is the last panel and the last. Yeah, Mike. Yeah, who had his hand up? Oh, sorry. Yeah.
Hello, my name is Fiona. I'm from Kenya. I have a question for Mauritius, and I would like, possibly you may have an answer, you may know about the issue, but it would be interesting to understand what Mauritius's strategy for ICT or digital transformation is when there is action taken by the Mauritian courts that disables the rest of the region in terms of our ability to digital transformation, because we trusted Mauritius and we put in critical internet resources to be managed for us by an office in Mauritius. For the last 3 years, they've been hijacked by the judicial system in Mauritius. We can't do anything.
So what is the specific issue so that I get a better insight?
The specific issue has to do with Afrinic, the internet registry. The resources held by Afrinic are supposed to serve the African region. A Chinese individual with a briefcase company went and managed to get registration in Mauritius and the Seychelles, but he has no offices in any of those countries. And then he took the resources to use in China. And when the Africans raised issues, he went to court. We asked the court to allow us to go through our agreed procedures to deal with the issue, but the court sided with him. So now the Mauritian court and government, in essence, is supporting a Chinese to take African resources for the internet out of Africa.
Maybe this issue can be handled separately, offline. Yeah.
I'm
Any
aware of this
questions?
problem.
Yeah. Thanks. Yeah. Otherwise, would you like to summarize the discussion so far? Any key takeaways that you have? A
Yes.
minute or so. Yeah.
Yes, I
Thanks.
could do that. Thank you so much. Thank you, panelists. So this has been hopefully a not boring panel discussion, because this has been a very important topic. So, the takeaway for me is ICT is not a sector in itself. ICT is a center enabler for every sector and every development initiative that we have as a nation and as a continent as well. And the regional integration and regional cooperation to share infrastructure, to share strategies is very key in order to, achieve great things as a continent and achieve development as well. In each of our countries, and linkage, not just linkage between countries, but linkage between or within sectors and within one country is also very important. And a very good takeaway for Ethiopia is involving the private sector is very important. And thank you so much.
Thanks so much, Melad, Girum, and Silo, for a fantastic closing panel discussion. May I invite all of you to come towards the front and come for the last closing photograph. We invite the photographers to please come, and let's get the stage set also, the podium in the middle, and remove